Executive Summaries June 2026 edition.
Beyond the jersey, can Bangladesh stitch together a footballing future? Every 4 years, a remarkable transformation takes place across Bangladesh. Streets are painted in the colors of distant nations. Rooftops become galleries of giant flags. Cafes, factories, universities, and villages erupt in passionate debates over tactics, players, and predictions. Although our national team is absent from football's biggest stage, the FIFA World Cup remains one of the most celebrated global events in our country. It is a unique paradox. We are among the world's most passionate football audiences, yet we remain spectators rather than participants. This passion tells an important story. Football in Bangladesh is not merely a sport. It is an emotion that transcends generations, professions, and social boundaries. It proves that the market exists, the enthusiasm exists, and the cultural foundation already exists. The missing piece is a sustainable football ecosystem capable of transforming this immense public affection into competitive excellence. Interestingly, while Bangladesh cheers for the world football giants, our apparel industry quietly plays its own role behind the scenes. The jerseys worn by millions of fans, training apparel, performance wear, and sport accessories sold across international markets are increasingly connected to Bangladesh's manufacturing excellence. Today, our garment industry is recognized globally for quality, scale, compliance, and innovation. From performance fabrics to technically advanced sportswear, Bangladeshi manufacturers continue to strengthen their position in one of the fastest growing segments of the global apparel business. Imagine an industry-led football development initiative where leading apparel manufacturers collectively support youth academies, school tournaments, district leagues, coaching education, women's football, and community training facilities. Imagine factories partnering with local schools to provide sports kits, modern playing fields, and professional coaching. Imagine Bangladesh becoming not only a global supplier of football jerseys but also a respected contributor to football development itself. Time has come to consider investing in social development projects like football coaching by successful garments group. Time has come to set up sports training centers in each and every district of Bangladesh. Can't we have 64 garment and textile companies among few thousand factories who would consider in facilitating such dream projects in every district of Bangladesh? Such initiative would not simply represent corporate social responsibility, CSR, they would be strategic investments in human capital, healthier communities, and national pride. They would also create a national breeze between the country's strongest export industry and one of its greatest public passions. As manufacturers increasingly move toward environmental, social, and governance (ESG) commitments, sports development can become a meaningful social pillar that generates measurable impact while inspiring future generations. Few investments have the power to unite a nation as effectively as sports. The World Cup reminds us that football has an extraordinary ability to inspire dreams. Bangladesh already possesses the passion. Our apparel industry possesses the capability. What we need now is a shared vision that connects these two strengths. Perhaps one day, the jerseys manufactured in Bangladesh will not only be worn by the world's greatest footballers, but by our own national team, competing proudly on football's biggest stage. That is a dream worth stitching together. Let's work on it. Just do it.
World Cup 2026 Jersey Sponsorship, where football meets global apparel power. The 48-team tournament across North America has become the sportwear industry's Adidas, Nike, and Puma, dominating 77% of national team contracts. As the FIFA World Cup unfolds across US, Canada, and Mexico, billions of viewers are witnessing more than just football. They're observing a multi-billion-dollar apparel showdown. Every jersey on the pitch represents a sophisticated commercial ecosystem involving sportswear giants, textile manufacturers, and strategic brand positioning. Adidas leads the tournament as FIFA's official sportswear partner and the largest national team supplier, outfitting representing 14 countries, including defending champions Argentina, Germany, Spain, and Mexico. The German Brands Association, with Lionel Messi and Argentina's federation agreement alone, is estimated to be worth tens of millions annually. Nike follows closely with 12 teams, including Brazil, France, England, the Netherlands, and host nation United States. The American sportswear giant is leveraging the North American hosting to strengthen its global position, with replica shirts priced at a premium average of $125. Puma supplies 11 nations, including Portugal, Morocco, Senegal, and Ghana. The German brand has particularly excelled in Africa markets, outfitting 5 of the continent's representatives. The 2026 tournament represents a significant leap in textile innovation. Brands are promoting advanced materialistic technologies such as Nike's AeroFit cooling systems to handle extreme North American summer climates while utilizing 100% recycled fabrics. Design teams embrace heritage storytelling, with Germany's jersey referencing successful World Cup era, Mexico incorporating indigenous cultural motifs, and France featuring Statue of Liberty elements. Morocco's designs have particularly drawn attention following the country's historic recent performances. Annual sponsorship for major football nations range from approximately 10 million to over 70 million, depending on team performance, fan size, and merchandise potential. These agreements typically include cash payments, performance incentives, royalty sharing, and youth development funding. As the largest tournament in FIFA history, the World Cup 2026 has transformed national jerseys into highly lucrative, moving cultural big bulls that dictate global sportswear stock sentiment and retail pipelines. Adidas has reported a 70% year-on-year surge in apparel spending, while Nike maintains strong pricing power through premium positioning and tighter supply cycles. The tournament leaves a clear blueprint for the future of sports. The jersey is no longer just a uniform. It has evolved into the ultimate global lifestyle garment, blurring the lines between pitch performance technology, luxury streetwear, and cultural identity.
Dressing through El Nino, confronting the curse of nature. Seasons are blurring. Winters are warmer, summers are longer, and the fashion industry is scrambling to keep up. El Nino works on a simple mechanism: unusually warm Pacific Ocean temperatures throw weather patterns off balance, bringing prolonged heat and drought to parts of Australia, Southeast Asia, and South America, and flooding to others. Fashion has not been insulated from any of it. The most visible impact is on what people buy. Heavy fabrics move slowly in a hot season, and a warmer than usual winter can leave retailers sitting on unsold knitwear for weeks. Markdowns follow. It is what is driving the push towards trans-seasonal collections, where pieces that work across multiple seasons are simply safer to stock. Supply chain pressure runs just as deep. Drought cuts cotton yields, flooding stalls production, and extreme heat in manufacturing hubs like Bangladesh, Vietnam, and Pakistan reduces factory productivity. Climate studies predict these disruptions could cost apparel industries in these nations up to $65.8 billion in export earnings by 2030 if left unaddressed. Port congestion and damaged infrastructure add further strain, leaving finished garments stranded and deadlines missed. For shoppers, fabric is where it starts. Linen, lightweight cotton, and bamboo fabrics hold up well in heat. Performance blends once reserved for the gym are now practical for the commute and the office. Breathable overshirts and UV protective outerwear manage temperature variation better than anything heavy, and the oversized sell-out trend has proven genuinely useful in warm conditions. Some brands have been quicker than others to respond. Uniqlo's Allrism and Lululemon's moisture-wicking activewear have both grown steadily as summers intensify. In Australia, Lorna Jane, Elite 11, Assembly Label, and Country Road have each leaned into heat-suited, relaxed collections. Footwear brands like Birkenstock, New Balance, and Veja are growing as consumers shift toward lighter, year-round options. Seasonal fashion built around fixed calendar dates is losing its grip. The brands that will hold their ground are the ones treating climate responsiveness dressing as a design brief rather than a marketing angle.
Bangladesh's main industry is battered by blackouts and rising costs. A crisis may loom. Bangladesh's garment industry was already under pressure. Now blackouts, rising costs, and falling orders are pushing it towards something far more serious. Around 95% of Bangladesh's oil and gas comes from the Gulf, and supply has been severely disrupted. In May, power was being cut for 2 hours a day around Dhaka. In Chattogram, blackouts lasted as long as 8 hours. Some factory owners turned to diesel generators, but even the 10 to 15 minutes needed to switch them on can be costly. Production fell nearly 30% between February and May. The consequences are immediate. Al Muslim Group sacked nearly 1,900 100 workers on June 6. At least 9,500 workers across some 80 factories have lost their jobs since January, and more than 400 factories have shut down over the past 3 years. The stakes are significant. Only China exports more clothes than Bangladesh. Clothing made up 4/5 of export earnings last year and 13% of GDP, with over 4 million workers and around 40 million dependents tied to the sector. In May, clothing exports fell for a 10th consecutive month, dropping 8% year on year. Global brands are placing fewer orders, and one jacket factory owner in Dhaka said orders have dropped by a fifth since the war started. Pricier oil has driven up the cost of synthetic fibers, dyes, finishing chemicals, buttons, and zips, which together make up around 65% of garment production cost. Naphtha, used to produce polyester fiber and thread, is now roughly a third more expensive than before the war. Transport costs have risen sharply too, with one factory owner estimating he's paying 30% more. The student-led uprising that toppled Sheikh Hasina in 2024 have already shaken buyer confidence. Bangladesh's central bank introduced a 600 billion taka stimulus package in May, but recipients pay around 7% interest, a tough ask for struggling businesses. For workers like Shamoli Khatun, who arrived at her factory on June 7 to find a layoff notice on the gates, the crisis is already personal. It will be very hard for me to find another job. I may have to return to my village. The industry has survived crisis before, but rarely have so many arrived at once.
The motifs stitched into the World Cup. The 2026 FIFA World Cup has become a showcase of culture as well as football, with national team jerseys featuring designs inspired by history, art, literature, and wildlife. Defending champions Argentina pay tribute to their 3 World Cup triumphs by combining shades of blue from the 1978, 1986, and 2022 winning kits, while the away shirt incorporates filet perteno, a traditional decorative art style from Buenos Aires. Brazil's away jersey draws inspiration from the Amazon's poison dart frog, while France's oxidized green away kit references the Statue of Liberty and celebrates the country's historic ties. Belgium honors surrealist artist René Magritte with the phrase "This is not a jersey" on the collar, while Norway's kit features runic-inspired lettering and Viking-era urns art. Colombia's jersey includes yellow butterflies from Gabriel Garcia, 100 Years of Solitude, and Mexico revives Aztec calendar motifs inspired by Piedra de Sol.
World Cup fever brings Bangladesh's jersey market to life. The World Cup is underway, and across Bangladesh, the jersey market is already moving fast. Demand typically peaks during World Cup cycles, with jerseys leading the surge. This year, buying started earlier than usual after team designs were released ahead of the tournament, shifting demand forward compared to previous editions. Markets in Gulistan, Basuntara City Shopping Mall, and Maulana Bhashali National Hockey Stadium area continue to draw regular crowds. Argentina and Brazil lead demand, followed by Spain, France, Germany, Japan, and Portugal. Fan edition jerseys account for most sales, with prices ranging from around Taka 200 to 300 at roadside stalls and Taka 400 to 1500 in retail shops. Wholesale markets in Dhaka remain active too. Some wholesalers report daily volumes reaching into the 1,000 during peak periods, while seasonal vendors report selling dozens to over 100 pieces a day. Import costs have risen due to currency pressure and higher material prices, adding roughly Taka 100 to 200 per jersey compared to previous World Cup cycles. Fabric comes mainly from China, with stitching and production taking place locally, mostly in Narayanganj. The activity extends well beyond jerseys. Flags, cups, medals, and crests are also seeing higher demand as group viewing culture builds around matches. Electronics retailers expect a strong rise in TV sales, with the seasonal TV market estimated at around Taka 1,000 crore. Food and beverage businesses are also benefiting, driven by late-night match schedules, pushing higher consumption of tea, biscuits, and snacks. Import delays, currency pressure, and post-tournament stock uncertainty remains ongoing challenges. Even so, market activity stays steady, driven largely by younger consumers who continue to fuel World Cup spending. Bangladesh jersey enters FIFA Museum in historic first. For the first time, a Bangladesh football jersey is on display at the FIFA Museum in Zurich, alongside some of the most iconic kits in the history of the game. The announcement was confirmed by Dor, the manufacturing company behind the national team kit. Bangladesh's jersey now sits permanently within the museum's global archive, marking the country's first appearance in the collection. All administrative processes for handover and cataloging were completed before the exhibition was made public. Behind the design is Tasmit Afiat Orni, creative director of the Bangladesh Football Federation and the founder of Stride Fashion Wear. She She drew inspiration from the Sundarbans and traditional Jamdani patterns. The white away jersey incorporates red and green from the national flag, layered with cultural detailing throughout. A Jamdani-inspired tiger motif carries hidden references to the magpie robin and the Hilsha fish, weaving Bangladesh's natural and cultural heritage into every detail. The project involved months of research and coordination between Qatar and Bangladesh to meet international production standards. Despite the scale of the recognition, Orni chose not to charge the federation, describing it as a contribution made purely for the country. The FIFA Museum's archive holds kits from the footballing nations across different eras. Bangladesh's entry places its football identity within the global record for the first time. It is a defining moment, not just for the jersey, but for the country's place in the wider story of the game.
Elite 11, Australia's homegrown challenger reshaping the athleisure and retail market. In a market dominated by Nike, Adidas, and Lululemon, a Melbourne-born label is quietly building something different, and consumers are taking notice. Elite 11 was founded in Melbourne with a vision of producing apparel that moved beyond traditional gym wear. Rather than creating products exclusively for athletic performance, the brand developed clothing versatile enough for both training and everyday wear. This positioning coincided with the rise of athleisure, where consumers increasingly favored clothing that could transition seamlessly between fitness and casual settings. The brand's identity is built on minimalism. Neutral color palettes, subtle design elements, and tailored silhouettes define the aesthetic with a focus on premium essentials rather than trend-dependent collections. Competing against global giants with massive marketing budgets and established supply chains is no small task. Elite 11 has responded with a fundamentally different approach. It operates primarily through a direct-to-consumer model, selling online rather than through department stores or wholesale partnerships. This keeps margins higher and allows the brand to respond to trends faster than traditional retail allows. Community is the other pillar. Rather than relying on celebrity ambassadors, Elite 11 collaborates with fitness creators, lifestyle influencers, and everyday customers across Instagram and TikTok. For many buyers, purchasing Elite 11 is not simply about clothing. It represents participation in a lifestyle built around confidence and modern fitness culture. Pricing ties it together. Sitting between luxury sportswear and fast fashion, the brand offers premium quality at attainable prices, a balance that resonates strongly as Australian consumers grow more amid rising living costs. But growth brings its own pressures. Maintaining exclusivity while scaling remains the brand's biggest challenge. Competitors like Gymshark and Lululemon are expanding aggressively in Australia, and consumer expectations around sustainability and ethical sourcing are growing as well. For Elite 11, continued innovation will determine whether it evolves from a successful Australian brand into a globally recognized one. What began in Melbourne is now a serious competitor in one of the world's most demanding retail markets.
Apparel news in brief for June 2026. Bangladesh RMG faces EU market slowdown despite May recovery. May brought some good news for Bangladesh's garment sector, but one better month does not erase a difficult year. RMG exports to the European Union totaled $17.36 billion from July to May, down from $19.71 billion the previous year, a fall of $640 million. Shipments dropped from $1.89 billion in July to $1.34 billion in September, weakening again in February and March. May offered relief, rising to $1.82 billion from $1.52 billion in April, but stakeholders remain cautious. Germany led European Union markets at $409.3 million, followed by Spain at $300.1 million, with France, Italy, the Netherlands, Poland, and Nordic markets also recording improvements. Rising competition, higher production costs, and weaker consumer demand continue to affect order flows. Vietnam's return to second place in global apparel exports has added fresh concerns. With apparel accounting for about 92% of total exports to the European Union, the pressure on Bangladesh's RMG sector remains significant. BTMA opposes removal of 30% value addition rule. A single budget proposal has set off alarm bells across Bangladesh's textile sector, and the industry is pushing back hard. The Bangladesh Textile Mills Association has urged the government not to withdraw the 30% value addition requirement for imported garment raw materials. Scraping the rule, they warn, could push exporters towards imported yarn and expose the domestic market to cheaper imports. The primary textile sector has attracted around $23 billion in investment, yet 114 out of 234 BTMA member spinning mills have shut down since 2019, with remaining mills operating at only 60 to 70% capacity. Indian cotton yarn imports already rose 22.07% year-on-year to $1.79 billion to fiscal year 2024-25. With LDC graduation approaching, BTMA warned that stronger local yarn production will be critical to meeting double transformation requirements for maintaining trade benefits. BTMA has called for reducing corporate tax for primary textile mills to 12% and maintaining it till 2030. Without policy support, the sector's survival is at risk. Duty hike may slow Bangladesh's shift towards MMF apparel. Bangladesh knows it needs to move beyond cotton, but a proposed duty hike could make the shift significantly harder. A proposed 5% duty on polyester staple fiber and higher duties on PVC and PET resin could increase production costs and slow Bangladesh's transition toward man-made fiber apparel. Global demand is shifting away from cotton, yet Bangladesh remains heavily dependent on it. Local suppliers currently meet only a small share of synthetic input demand, and the duty measures could discourage further investment. Experts noted that tariff protection alone will not build the sector without stronger domestic capacity and a broader MMF strategy. With Bangladesh holding a smaller share of the global MMF market than China and Vietnam, the right policy support could unlock significant export potential. This duty hike, industry leaders warn, points in the wrong direction. Global cotton trade to be lower in 2026-27 over previous seasons, USDA. Global cotton trade is edging lower this season, but the competition among exporters is anything but quiet. World cotton trade in 2026-27 is estimated at 43.3 million bales, down slightly from the previous season. Brazil leads with a record 15 million bales, accounting for 34.5% of the global trade, having surpassed the US as the largest exporter in 2023-24. The US follows with a 12.3 million bales, or 28.5%. Australia's exports are forecast lower at 4.5 million bales, while India's are projected to rebound from a two-decade low to 1.5 million bales. On the other side, Vietnam leads with a record 8 million bales, accounting for 18.5% of global imports. Bangladesh is projected at 7.6 million bales and China at 7 million bales, or 16% of the world total. Pakistan and Turkey follow at 5 million and 4.8 million bales respectively. Global trade may be edging lower, but the competition for market share among exporters and importers remain intense. H&M says Bangladesh remains key sourcing market despite order concerns. Reports suggested H&M might be pulling back from Bangladesh. The retailer has responded, but the picture is not entirely reassuring. H&M reaffirmed that Bangladesh remains a very strong sourcing market, currently sourcing from nearly 300 local factories worth around $5 billion annually, a relationship maintained since the early 1980s. While H&M did not confirm any reduction in volumes, industry leaders acknowledged that order levels have declined this year due to weaker global demand, excess retail inventory, and supply chain uncertainty. Growing competition from India, US tariff uncertainty, energy shortages, and LDC graduation challenges are all adding pressure. Studies suggest Bangladesh could face significant export risks after graduation, making competitiveness a key concern going forward. Labor rights body calls for scrapping tin rule. The rule places an undue burden on informal sector workers, BILS leaders say. Proposed rule in Bangladesh's Finance Bill 2026 could block millions of low-income workers from basic banking services. A labor rights body wants it gone. The Bangladesh Institute of Labor Studies has urged the government to withdraw the mandatory tin requirement for opening bank accounts, saying it places an unnecessary barrier on informal sector workers who need banking access to receive wages and save money. BILS also criticized the budget process, noting that representatives of the country's roughly 7.5 crore workers were not adequately consulted. BILS placed a 15-point proposal before the government calling for withdrawing the tin requirement, strengthening the Ministry of Labor, bringing all workers under the Universal Pension Scheme, and expanding social protection. It also urged fair price ration shop, healthcare centers, and dormitories for female workers in industrial areas.